transitioning to the last part of this interview. Um, so, what do you think about, the president of Ukraine making out that rule saying that all men 18 to 60, I believe, have to stay in Ukraine and fight, and women and children are allowed to, leave the country and, seek safety. Like, what do you think about that? What's your thoughts?
I think it's not just Ukraine. Every country has some type of mandate like that where a man has to step up, and with the exception of Israel, I think Israel has it where the women have to go into the military for a certain amount of time. But with the exception of them, every country has a draft per se, or some type of provision where the men of that country have to step up and fight whenever a war happens or whatnot. When the supply is low for soldiers, and it was low in Ukraine's case. Uh, my thing is, as far as the feminist, movement
Right,
goes, as
right,
it comes to it,
right.
it's just it's disheartening that they haven't stepped up and said anything, because I thought this was their fight. You know what I'm saying? They're making it seem like their fight is our fight. If we have to do this, then they have to do this too.
Right.
So the fact that they haven't stepped up and said that, well, it's unfair that the women get, I get it, the women with the kids, but the single women that meet the same qualifications as a man, it's it's ironic that they haven't said anything about it. But they will fight to get into like a combat arms position, but they're not an advocate for this draft per se for Ukraine.
So would you like so basically right, I agree with that. So it kind of like plays into the delusion of this this equality argument that the feminists like to push out there. And I want to say that actually, believe it or not, I'm actually a feminist, right? But I'm a certain type of feminist where I believe in three principles, and one is that I believe that both genders should be respected as a human being, and should be treated fairly as a human being.
Right.
Second is that I believe in equal opportunities between two different genders. Equal opportunities, not equal outcomes. Equal opportunities. And the third is I also believe that no man or no woman, no male or no female, should be raped by either gender, should be sexually assaulted. You should be able to live your life free and a fear of being sexually assaulted by anybody. So that's just my 3 points that I identify as a feminist. But going back to what you were saying, yeah, why aren't they coming out and fighting, for the right to bear arms and to stay in Ukraine, and petitioning that president and saying, this isn't fair, this isn't equality, why are you saying that women are able to leave the country but the men have to stay back and fight? So yeah, I don't understand that at all.
I
Like,
mean, thinking about here, say in the United States, you don't ever hear about feminists fighting for putting their name in the draft. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Saying that men
right.
and women that fit this, category needs to be drafted. I've never heard that argument. So, you know, they need to talk. Where you at? Say something.
Feminists, where y'all at, man? We looking. The world is watching right now,
The world is watching.
and that kind of goes into the next point. What are your thoughts, or what are your beliefs on men versus women in the military? And I'll get a little more specific. Let's just say a scenario where you talked about those missions that you had to go on when you were in Iraq. Um, what are your thoughts on, let's say, like you were going on one of those missions, and let's say you had a choice where you could go on a mission with all men or go on a mission with all women. What would you choose and why? And then kind of give me just your overall thoughts on men versus women in the military.
Yeah, my thoughts are, even if you ask a woman that same question, they're gonna pick the five men over the five women every time. In a combat scenario, when
Hmm.
bullets are flying and your life is on the line,
Hmm.
you're not gonna play around and play politics, and state
Right,
that, well, we
right,
need to have an equal amount of females to males, and you need to have one of this demographic and one of that demographic. None of that matters. That's all out the window. So, I, I mean, me personally, I'm not saying that women don't have a place in the military. They do. Back in the days when the draft was initiated, so women, they stepped up and they ran the caches and the mashes and the medical facilities. They stepped up and they did that. So they relieved the male medics to be actually there on the line helping out the infantry or whatnot. So whenever they got bandaged up or whatnot, they can get triaged and pushed back, and then get a higher level of care. So, and I'm not saying that's just the only instance. There's a plethora of jobs in the military. I am saying specifically for combat related jobs, jobs where, so, a big swole dude, 200 pounds with 150 pounds of armor on, if he has to look to his left and right and see, two women that he knows in his mind that cannot pick him up if something happens, that's a tragedy. All in the name of trying to make something fair, that's it's ludicrous, because his life is on the line. He has to trust that this 100-pound female, regardless of how cold she is in the PT test, regardless of how smart she is, regardless of how she kills it in the job, he has to rely on her to pick him up over her shoulders, what I'm saying, and push him over to some place that's going to be, safe. And it's physically impossible. It's not happening.
Well, it sounds like that guy that you're using for example, he would be a very smart individual to realize and to recognize the stark differences between men and women, especially when it comes to physicality. I think it's dangerous when you have these womanist movements that try to say there is no difference between men and women when it comes to biology or physicality. And like you said, if your life is on the line, you really have no bearing. You don't have a dog in a fight to try to prove a point when someone's life is on the line. I think that's like dangerous. It's disingenuous, and it's just flat out wrong. So
it's wrong, definitely. And then to take it even a step further, obviously men and women have two divisions in UFC. You know what I'm saying? So feminists aren't fighting for men. To fight women. You know what I'm saying? But even taking that a step further, you have men that transition into something else. And they're able to fight amongst women. So in those scenarios, if you've ever seen anything on YouTube, it's brutal. You know what I'm saying? You would think that this person would have to be locked up with how they brutally beat up this person.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either. When a man transitions into a woman, okay, that's one thing. But then you want to take that that new this new person that you've become, and you want to go to the UFC and kick girls' asses. Like, I don't understand, like, what is that about? And I don't understand why feminists and womanists have not spoken out about this. Like, this is just
complete outrage,
Facts. Well, yeah, man, I definitely agree with you on that, and I don't understand why society tries to ignore biology, physical, kinesiology, just things that are just verifiable by fact, science, and observable reality. But hey, the world we live in. Man, this conversation was good. I really appreciate you coming out, sharing your perspective from a military man's mindset, and just breaking everything down that you did. Like I said, this is the first of many, and we look forward, to seeing you back on the platform, and that you actually apply these anti-slob principles in your life and live a life full of anti-sloppy, lazy, obese, bad behavior. If you have anything that you want to say to the people before we sign out, you are more than welcome to get the last word.
Thank you. It's an honor being, on the first podcast. So everything looks good. Everything's set up nicely. So I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to share my story with the community and whatnot. Let people know, what time it is. And like everyone else, everyone has to be held accountable for their own actions.
That's right.
That's what AntiSLOBB is about. So I'm ready to apply it to my life to another level, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's things that, have always been ingrained, but there's always things you can fine tune and get better.
Facts. They perfectly well said. Nice way to end it out. Appreciate you guys. Like the video if you like the video. Give Stonk Insights a follow. Subscribe to him if you like that type of information.
YouTube and Twitter. Yep, Stonk Insights. The same, just like how it sounds like. Stonk, STONK.
I'll have the link in the description for you guys. We appreciate you guys. Peace out. And remember, AntiSLOBB.